Let's just say this embodied Shiva, Viking, warrior, masculine man who's in his heart. He's an empath, he's a feeler, he sings, he plays the guitar, he writes you poetry. He cares deeply for the divine feminine, but wants to be her warrior and protector. And this man shows up and he knocks on your door and he says, I am ready for sacred union now. I know what you're thinking. Yes, I'm in. But what are the parts of you that might start feeling like, oh my God, maybe I'm not ready for this? Because there are still parts of you that need to be developed for you to hold that. It might not happen instantly. You might not know how it unfolds, because if you did, it wouldn't really be a synchronicity, it would be control, right? We can then trust you are the synchronicity. You are the sign. You are the temple. You are what you've been waiting for. And let's move beyond constantly needing validation, direction, even if it's from the universe, even if it's from our highest selves, and start to move deeper into that embodiment. And this is where modern manifestation gets it wrong.
Just flow, surrender, let go. Just flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for. Just flow, surrender, let go. Just flow, surrender, let go. Just flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for.
Namaste and welcome back to the Highest Self Podcast. My name is Sahara Rose, and on this podcast, I love to talk about spirituality, but make it modern, fun, grounded, and relatable so it can actually serve your needs. So I started on my spiritual journey 14 years ago. I started with yoga, Ayurveda, got very deep into past lives, intuition, synchronicities, and I became obsessed. Like every time I would look at a license plate of a car, I'm like, oh, it's these numbers. This is what it means. And the clock, of course, it was always 11:11. And it felt like finally the universe was alive and speaking back to me. And maybe it had been this whole time and I wasn't paying attention. And I just became obsessed. If I saw an animal, I wonder what this signifies in my life. And, everything was a sign. And there have been periods of my life where there have been many, many signs. But it's interesting because more recently I noticed, I thought about it because I don't really look for signs anymore. And I noticed, I'm like, am I off course? Is something wrong? I notice I'm not seeing all the 1111s and 444s and 333s and, my initials on the license plate. Am I off? Am I out of alignment? I had that thought. And then this came through, what I'm about to share with you on the episode. And before we get into this episode, be sure to hit subscribe. That allows you to stay in the loop for future conversations. This podcast is also on YouTube, so you could be watching us in person, Spotify video, and the Apple Store. So be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with future conversations, and let's get into this one. So what to do when you're not noticing the signs? When you're not experiencing the synchronicities? What does that mean? So most of us will jump to the conclusion I did for a second there. It must mean something's off. It must mean I am no longer in divine alignment, because I remember I was seeing these crazy signs that you can't be making up everywhere, and now I'm not. And so maybe I just lost track. Maybe I'm not on the path anymore. But actually, I'm going to say something that's completely contradicting this. So when we start to develop our spiritual muscle, it's weak. It's never done reps before. We've never listened to our intuition. We've never noticed the signs. For us, life is seemingly a bunch of random experiences that keep happening, and life just must be getting worse because that's what we're seeing on the news in the world. There's another war, there's another tragedy, there's another shooting. Life keeps getting worse, and bad things can happen all the time, and nothing makes sense, and then you die, and so it is. That's how we're trained to see life. Then we go through a spiritual awakening, and we start to realize that there are some things that have happened in our lives that you could say, it was just a cause and effect, but there's a greater red thread that is connecting all of these different seemingly random experiences in your life into this greater theme, this greater story that your soul is playing out. And you start to notice, especially as you reach a higher and higher level perspective, that if this thing hadn't happened, that thing wouldn't happen. And this crazy thing that you couldn't have made up happened. And had that not all happened, this person wouldn't have come into your life, which led to that conversation and that realization and that entirely new career path, that marriage. I love the invisible string theory. And it says that when two people are about to meet, they will like cross paths in so many different ways. Like they'll be at the same place at the same time, but never meet. They might be in the same country at the same time. They don't know each other. They're living similar experiences on other ends of the world and they have no idea. And they're living all of these parallels until both of them are in divine alignment to meet right then. And you know this because when you speak, you both realize that had we met any earlier, we would not have been able to hold what we can now. You wouldn't have been ready. You wouldn't have gone through certain experiences that you needed, certain initiations, and so did they. And so it's crazy because there were all these parallels, all these synchronicities, but you didn't know about them. You didn't see them. You just thought you're living life. But it's only when it all came together that you're like, light bulb moment, now it all makes sense. So I remember when I was sitting with the medicine of ayahuasca, it showed me like inside a train, and it was the fabric of reality. Quite a view. And it was like inside of a train where all of the pieces of it were connected. So, like inside the train, there's like this round little steering wheel thing, and it connects to this thing that goes side to side, and then this belt over here. And it's all like this really beautifully crafted symphony where every single little piece is operating in this greater tapestry that this little conveyor belt right here doesn't know that if it didn't move, this wheel wouldn't have moved. And if this wheel didn't move, this engine wouldn't have gone. If this engine wouldn't have gone, this entire bus wouldn't be going in. It's all connected. But it doesn't know. It's just living life. And this is our reality. There are things happening in the periphery of your life right now that you have no idea about, that are insignificant to you. But one day, in a couple months or a couple of years, you're going to say, oh, and that was when that thing happened. Oh my God. And then this situation. And then I met them. I didn't know. How many people meet the love of their lives and they didn't know that day was going to be the love of their lives? It was just some random person they met at a dinner party. It's like, hey, how are you? And that's it. It may have been years later that the conveyor belt was ready for them to be together. So what the medicine really showed me is that there are no coincidences. There is no such thing as a random thing. Everything is connected to this greater tapestry. Now, does that mean you caused it all necessarily? No. And this is where modern manifestation gets it wrong. It doesn't mean you personally were behind everything because there's collective karma. So in my book right now, I'm writing my 5th book, and I talk about the different layers of karma. So karma in American English, but I like to use the Sanskrit pronunciation. And, we have personal karma, we have collective karma, we have relational karma, we have ancestral karma. And we often think like our very mainstream, like manifestation, spiritual pop space is like, well, you made all of it. Not really, because there is societal karma, there is family karma, there are all of these different layers. So let's say something happens, like, I don't know, like, for example, I'm staying in an Airbnb right now and there were termites in the wall. And my friend's like, look up spiritual meaning of termites. I was like looking it up and I was like, okay, I don't know if that so much is an animal sign for me as much as it is the collective karma of all of the old wood houses in Venice Beach, So I won't say that every single little thing is a sign for you, like right now, but I feel we can take, and especially the things that are like very related to our lives, the bigger things that have like created a shift in our direction, those are the things that are really for us. Just because I can see people go very overboard on the signs. Now, this goes into when you're in the conveyor belt, you don't see all the signs. You're not constantly being reminded. You're not, the inside of the train doesn't stop every 2 seconds and say, you're on the right path. You're doing it. Yes, keep going. It doesn't keep saying that. It says it at the beginning and then it's like, okay, do your thing. So I like to envision our highest selves. To me, how I think of it is my highest self, my most wise, expansive, intuitive soul self that is watching out for me is sending me breadcrumbs on the journey, sending me little winks of the lucky number that I have, of hearing the song that said exactly what I needed to hear, of having the conversation that led to me having this thing. It's placing these on my paths to guide me. And so, in time periods of my life where I need a lot of guidance, it sends me more. So, after my divorce, it was like the universe went up 200 notches. Everything was a sign, everything was speaking to me. The level of synchronicity was unlike I've ever experienced in my life. And I was like, am I making this up? Am I crazy right now? Or is this nuts? The things that were happening. And that is because my highest self knew I needed extra divine support and guidance and affirmations that I was on the right path. So it was leading me through these towards this trail that led to me being nomadic and traveling the world and living in pyramids and sacred sites and temples in Bali, Egypt, India over the past 3 years. And every single country and every single next place and every single person I met was all part of this tapestry. And so when I most recently sat with, well, I had all these synchronicities, why am I not having them now? I started to realize there's a deeper layer to it. So when our souls are needing extra guidance, we get extra synchronicities, but there's also a pregnant pause. Honestly, it's time for you to get out of the spiritual closet because you have incredible gifts that you are here to share. Your message, your story, your wisdom. I know it inspires your friends, your family members, your colleagues, everyone you meet, but it's time to actually be able to share it with the world. But I know what you might be thinking. I don't know what to post. I don't feel like I'm a confident speaker. I hate the sound of my own voice. Well, if this is you, I was exactly in your position. And this is why I've created my Speak with Soul method that has led to me and over 3,000 people moving from awkward to confident speaker in just 21 days. So in this method, I go so much deeper than giving a TED Talk, but rather it is about the energetic transfer you are here to admit. It's about the tone, texture, quality of your voice, how to share a story, how to be a channel, how to really listen to what your soul is here to express beyond the mind and into the body and spirit. So you're going to learn about what type of speaker you are, how to effectively share your story, and end off the 21 days recording your own podcast intro, which, by the way, you need to have me on one day. So if you're interested and curious, I have a code for 20% off right now. You can head over to the show notes, speakwithsoulcourse.com, and use coupon code podcast for 20% off. Again, that is speakwithsoulcourse.com, coupon code podcast. And I have that link in the show notes. And I'm so excited to see what you create. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. So when we inhale, what do we do next? We hold. We let it integrate. And then when we're ready, we exhale, and it's the next wave. And so when we are always looking for the next synchronicity, the next sign, we're only doing things if our tarot card says it's okay. We are not trusting in the space that we need between our old and new realities for it to really integrate. So I was speaking with a friend of mine. She was single for many years, really calling in her sacred union partner. And she met someone and she really believes this is her person. And they're in a beautiful relationship and it's everything she prayed for and more. And what she shared was that it wasn't that the relationship came when she, let go of it and didn't think about it, but it came when there was just a level of spaciousness of, I know it's coming, but I don't need to ask for more signs. I don't need more 1111s and, psychic intuitive readings and astrologers to tell me in this. I am just going to trust that it will happen when the time is right. I know that why would everyone have love except me? I know it's in the cards for me. And there was a spaciousness in her life that for a period of time, she wasn't dating anyone. There was no one she was excited about. It was just this neutral space for her. And it wasn't that she completely let go of the desire, but it was just that she was in the pause. And rather than trying to grasp and make something happen and go on a bunch of dates with people who she already knew she didn't like, she just let herself be. And then she met someone that has surpassed her wildest expectations, and she had high standards. And so I share this because how often in life, when we are in that pregnant pause, that space between contractions, that void that is waiting to be filled by the next thing, do we get scared? Do we get anxious? Do we try to fill it up with something else? Because when we go beyond needing constant synchronicities and signs, we can then trust you are the synchronicity. You are the sign. You are the temple. You are what you've been waiting for. You don't need to look outside of yourself anymore. Yes, I love a good astrologer, tarot reading, psychic, hit me up with that. I needed to actually pause on all of those things for the past couple of years. And instead, just ask myself. And also, when I don't know the answer, do you know what will lead to the answer? Time. I don't need to know it all now. I'm not meant to know it all now. If I knew it all now, it wouldn't be so fun. And so part of this human experience is the amnesia that we agree to. We agree to come on this planet with these desires, these gifts, these loves, these dharmas, and to forget. Because when we forget, we can then go on the journey of remembering. So if you always had, a bunch of diamonds on you all the time, you've always just had tons of diamonds in your pocket, diamonds would be kind of worthless to you. Like, oh, diamonds, I always have them in my pockets. For some reason, I just give them away and more just keeps showing up. I just have these diamonds. It's not a thing. You want rubies now. You want what you haven't gotten. But if you had coal in your pocket and you went through the journey of pressure, of initiation, of coming face to face with some of your biggest fears, some of the darkest shadows and wounds in the collective. But through that pressure, all of a sudden, these coals that you were always carrying, these things that you felt made you unlovable, out of alignment, like things will never happen for you, those coals, all of a sudden you look and they've become diamonds. The way you'll hold on to those are my precious. They are your precious diamonds because you forged them in the fire. The pressure made them precious. Preciosa. And that is why they're so valuable for you. Because you had to sit in the discomfort. And so the same thing happens, that I invite you to think that maybe right now the reason why I'm not seeing all these synchronicities is because I've moved beyond needing them. Because I'm at the point of trusting. I'm at the point of trusting that is what is for mine won't miss me. And I trust and know that if I was ready for it before, it would have happened. And so I am still in the journey of creating this new reality because there are still pieces of myself that are developing, necessary pieces that are needed to hold what I am calling in. So if you are calling in having a 6-figure spiritual life coaching career, imagine you literally got a client today and said, I'm going to pay you $100,000 to be my one-on-one spiritual life coach. Here's the check. What would you do? You would freak out. You wouldn't know what to say. You wouldn't know where to start. You would get scared and probably would be like, you know what? I'm going to return your money because I have no idea what to do with this. So you might be vision boarding a 6-figure coaching practice, but someone, if they handed it to you right now, would you be able to hold that? The energetics of it, the expectation of it, that caliber of client, And if you say no, perfect. You're being honest with yourself, because there is a divine preparation that you are undergoing that is preparing you for it. And so you wouldn't want it to happen earlier, because if it happened, you wouldn't have been able to hold it. And then you're going to say, I manifested a $100,000 client and I had to say no because I didn't actually do my preparation work. It's the same thing in relationship. This one, I know if I tell you, you're going to say, I'm ready. Let's just say this embodied Shiva, Viking, warrior, masculine man who's in his heart. He's an empath. He's a feeler. He sings. He plays the guitar. He writes you poetry. He cares deeply for the divine feminine, but wants to be her warrior and protector. He is your 3D physical world protector and sees your intuitive gifts and loves them and honors them and sees you as his oracle, as his queen, as his priestess. And this man shows up and he knocks on your door and he says, I am ready for sacred union now. I know what you're thinking. Yes, I'm in. But what are the parts of you that might start feeling like, oh my God, maybe I'm not ready for this. Oh my God, I'm going to screw this up. Oh my God, he's going to find out about me and leave me. Oh my God, the same thing's going to happen as happened last time. He's going to lie to me. He's going to betray me. Other girls are going to like him and he's going to leave me for them. I'm not ready. I never got to travel. I never got to really do the things I was supposed to do single. Oh shit, I didn't know it was going to it's going to happen already. I wasn't prepared for this. And a whole bunch of other fears that are under the surface that would really only come up in the relationship. And so I'm not saying he's not coming, but I'm saying the fact that he's not here, there's a reason to why. Because there are still parts of you that need to be developed for you to hold that. And sometimes it is in that pregnant pause when you can really be honest with yourself and say, I know that the version of me 6 months ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago would not have been ready to hold that relationship. And I trust that this version of me can. And I've seen my shadows and I've let go of patterns and I'm no longer attracted to breadcrumbs and emotionally unavailable people. And I'm no longer prioritizing chemistry over long-term compatibility. I'm no longer being the healer in relationships, trying to save him, trying to teach him, trying to mother him. I no longer am curious about exploring different types. I've done everything I wanted to do when I was single. I can't even imagine more versions of myself that I can meet. When you're really there and you're so settled in yourself, well, the universe will show you when. And so in that pregnant pause, all you can do is trust. You can trust that you are on the path. And there are things happening on the periphery that you don't yet see that will one day all make sense, because it always does. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So the holidays are a time of traditions. Some of us have many in our family, and some of us have none, and some of us are just beginning our own. So now is really the perfect time to reflect on what traditions mean for us and which we would like to rewrite and make our own. I know for myself, just having deeper conversations with my family really matters to me, and I'll take video because I just never know how long they're going to be around. And it's interesting because the more inner work I've done on myself, the things that used to maybe trigger me about my family now just doesn't bother me anymore. And it was quite amazing to see this year. I spent 2 weeks with them, staying in their place, and I had the best time, and the former version of me would not have. And the only difference was the inner work I've done on myself. So this is why I recommend therapy, and I love BetterHelp for it. So they do the initial matching for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and most of the time you get matched right the first time. And if you're not happy with your match, you can switch to a different therapist at any time. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is one of the world's largest online therapy platforms, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works with an average of 4.9 out of 5 stars. So this therapy start a new tradition by taking care of you. Our listeners get 10% off at betterhelp.com/Sahara. Again, that's betterhelp, HELP.com/Sahara, and you can find that link in the show notes.
So trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance, close your eyes and listen.
So sometimes when you are not experiencing those synchronicities is because you have taken the guidance needed that now you no longer need to be handheld by your highest self. You are in the Dharma, you are in the devotion, you are in the day-to-day sadhana of life, in the practice. I feel these synchronicities happen when we're making a big shift. You were here and we need to completely course correct and go over there. But when we're in the practice of daily life, which takes time, shadow work, there's going to be a good year of your life at least where it's that. And you need to do that because otherwise you'll just bring all those shadows right into the relationship. You'll bring all those shadows right into the career, right into the new home. So trust that there are layers under working, and we no longer need to get that handheld direction from outside of us because now we're tuned inside of ourselves. We don't need to ask a card. We don't need to ask the stars. We don't need to ask anything. Yes, they're beautiful tools, but ultimately we know that only we know for ourselves. And even if it doesn't make sense, we can trust that what is for us can't miss us. I've also found that there are periods of my life where it's that lull pause because maybe I had a really big shift period. This summer I was speaking at Mind Valley in Amsterdam, and then I went to New York and I was featured in Times Square and I was featured in this gala and on the cover of this magazine. It was like so many different things happening. And I actually got sick. And in that getting sick, it caused me to just ground and then focus on just like the everyday things I needed to do, renew my passport, get new glasses, And it's been here in LA, been a month of just that, just like humaning, And that's when I felt, I'm not seeing all the signs anymore. I'm not feeling that divine flow. Something must be off. And then it's a crazy story. A friend of mine that we actually kind of had a falling out a bit, and that doesn't typically happen for me, but we had a falling out for a bit. We didn't speak really for a year. And coming back to LA, something told me to just reach out to her. I feel she went through a very big growth journey, and I obviously have been as well. And let me just forgive because I know her heart is in the right place. And so I reached out to her, and she ended up being in LA that weekend. She had moved to Austin, which I didn't know. And she happened to be here for a podcast. And so we decided to meet. And I told her I'm kind of in this weird in between right now, that I'm here in LA, but I don't really see myself living here, especially after the fires. Like, it just doesn't feel the same. I'm very sensitive to, the soot and pollution. And I like living in nature, especially after a year in Bali. So I don't really know where to go next. And if I really ask myself how I envision my life, I envision myself in a house surrounded by nature with flowers, like on a cliff with mountains and an ocean, and I'm writing my book. And like, that's my vision. I have no idea. Like, I was actually thinking about maybe I just move to a cottage in the redwoods or Big Sur or something and just live alone with my dog and literally live my Elizabeth Gilbert life now. And so I was like, I don't really know what to do. And she's like, girl, this is crazy because a friend of mine has this house in Ibiza in España. And it's this gorgeous house that is already furnished, like total goddess vibed out, sauna, all the things. And I've been wanting to move into it, but I've been looking for a friend who's crazy enough to move to Ibiza with me. Would you be that friend? And it's so crazy because it was going through that void of not really feeling any synchronicities for the month, just doing very basic human things every day, kind of a bit stressed, anxious, like in the to-do grind, not really knowing where I was going to go next. Like, I guess, like I was even looking at leases in LA. I'm like, okay, I guess I just move back here for now. And that's what I thought. And now all of a sudden, boom, 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 new complete timeline of moving to Ibiza. And that wouldn't have happened, one, had I not sat in that void and not try to cling onto something new, not immediately sign the new lease, not immediately just decide, okay, I'm open to this, but I don't really know. It doesn't feel like 100%, but I was just in this place of waiting, and if I never got it pinged, I would have just kind of stayed here, I think. But then through the forgiveness, I really believe it was through the forgiveness of that friend. There's a reason why every single saint and, Jesus and all of them talk about forgiveness. It's such a huge part of the spiritual journey. Had I held on to that grudge, I wouldn't have reached out to her. We wouldn't have spoken, and it wouldn't have led to this entire new life path that now when I sit with it, I'm like, wait, Ibiza was the place in my vision. Island, nature, like it would be up north, not at the club's place. It's like spiritual. It's Atlantis. Mermaid vibes, cliffs, ocean, pure nature. And especially in the winter, it's super, super quiet. There's no tourists there. I can literally be like nestled in, like writing my book. And to do that with a friend who, her and I had been friends for 8 years. And through just the letting go of the past and opening my heart, and that forgiveness has led to, and I'm like, oh my God, I literally speak Spanish fluently. It was my first language when I was a young kid. My mom used to live in Spain after Iran, and my babysitter was Guatemalan, so she spoke to me. So it's like, when I used to live in India, I don't speak Hindi, and so that was hard. And, my ex was Arabic, and I don't speak Arabic. I speak Farsi. It's a Persian language. And so it always just felt like an outsider, I think, in a lot of like the cultures I've been involved in. And I'm like, wait, I literally speak Spanish. I love the culture here. I love the nature here. I love the spirituality. I love the land. I would have never thought of this for myself. It wasn't on, like, I've been there before. And when I was there, I thought one day when I'm married, I live in Ibiza. It's like the perfect place to raise kids up north, and like, it's safe and so beautiful. But it's like, why, once again, wait until I'm married? Live that life for myself. I truly believe that this path will lead to whoever my sacred union partner is. So let's just see. And even if it doesn't, I get to live in what feels for me like heaven on earth. And so I share this with you as a real time example in my own life of going through a period of no synchronicities, not knowing what was going on in my periphery. And then I made that shift of the forgiveness, reaching out to her. Something within me told her to do it. She happened to be there that one weekend. We happened to meet. She happened to have been offered that house, wanted to move herself, needed a friend. Her and I have traveled together. We know each other very well. And we decided to do this. And who knows what it will lead to. So these are the kind of things you can't just make up. Like, there were so many different things that had to have happened for this to come together, but we both needed to go on that journey of voids, that journey of trust, that journey of not knowing, but holding the vision. Holding the vision of, this is how I know I want to live my life. This is how I know I want to feel. This is how I know I want to experience this 3D reality, and I'm open to how. And then when you really hold that trust, but also do that shadow work that you need personally, whether it's forgiving someone from your past, whether it is speaking that uncomfortable truth, whether it is stating a boundary, whether it is letting go of something. We all have that thing that I feel once we do, it's like new timeline unlocked, that we needed to go there. And trusting there's a preparation that prepares us. We can't just instantly be thinking, oh, what's that thing? I have no idea. If you have no idea, it's not time. But once you know, oh, I know exactly what it is. I know who it is I need to reach out to. I know what it is I need to forgive. I know what it is I need to let go of. I know what it is I need to put out there. If you know that thing, I invite you to do it and just see what happens. Because you might be in that void right now that's like waiting for you to do this one final step that leads to the new timeline unloaded. So if you're not experiencing synchronicities right now, it just means you are in that liminal space in between. It doesn't mean you're off track. It actually means you're at a threshold. And when we're at the threshold, we often feel the most pressure. We often feel the most lost and the most confused. But when we are radically honest with ourselves, and it doesn't need to be this like hard thing. It could just be like this little idea that we had that we just acted on. I didn't sit and think, I really need to forgive her. Should I not? It wasn't on my mind. I just saw her Instagram story that day, and something within me just said, now you're ready. Reach out. So trust those little pings, those little nudges. They might be subtle. They might be soft. It might not happen instantly. You might not know how it unfolds, because if you did, it wouldn't really be a synchronicity. It would be control, right? I just want you to get in the practice of following those pings and just see where it takes you. And let's move beyond constantly needing validation, direction, even if it's from the universe, even if it's from our highest selves, and start to move deeper into that embodiment, into that knowing that I will know what's right for me in the right time. I can trust my body. I can trust my heart. I can trust my intuition. And I know that even if I do something seemingly wrong, like I make a wrong decision, it will always redirect me. It will always be a next step. And as long as in this moment it feels expansive for me, that's what I always teach my High Self Institute students. When you're connecting to your intuition, does this decision feel more expansive, heart open, arms open, ready to experience life, or more contractive? I am closing up. I don't know what's happening next. I'm scared. If it's the contraction, but you still want to do it, then there's an expansion to it. But if it's just pure contraction of, I see this choice of me permanently living here in LA, and yes, I have amazing friends here, but if I really think about 1 year, 5 year, 10 years from now, it feels very contracted for me. When I think about moving to Ibiza, I don't know if I'll be there forever. I don't know how long I will. We'll see. It's a 6-month lease for now, and so we'll see. But when I think about that possibility, I open up. I'm like, wow, that feels like going into the unknown in the best possible way. It feels like I needed to go through all, this year I've been mostly in temples, like off grid. And this feels like this beautiful weaving of not coming back to like American life, but this European life that's very cultural, but also nature focused. And really nature to me is the ultimate temple. And so it feels very expansive, even though I have to get a Spanish visa and, like all the things, moving to another country, getting a new phone yet again. At this point, I know every single time I've done that, a version of me that is so magical awaits on the other side, and it's always worth it. So I hope this shares with you that if you are in a void, there may just be something that is waiting to happen for this new timeline to unlock. It doesn't mean you're off path. It actually might mean you're right at the in-between breakthrough moment, that threshold that happens right before the initiation completes. And so just trusting and listening to your body and knowing you are on that right path. So I have my embodiment certification. I'll share my free 3-day mini course. It guides you through my Triple E method, which is how you can connect to your body's wisdom through emote, embody, and express. So I'll share the link for my free mini course below, and that's a really good next step you can take. And every link I mentioned today is also in the show notes. So share this conversation with friends. I'm really curious what shows up, what realizations you have, what felt true. And be sure to subscribe to this episode as well for future conversations about this. I do solo casts every other week. Share with me in the comments what came up, timestamps. Like I want to know, I want this to be a dialogue. I'm really curious what showed up for you. I read every single one. So be sure to comment on YouTube as well. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance. Close your eyes and listen. Surrender, let go. So trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom, trust your inner guidance. Close your eyes.